So, Love Live's making an angsty drama now. Love Live announced a new project recently, Bluebird, with the melancholic teaser and a hashtag that apparently translates to Hard Life Club. I'm intrigued. Cautiously so, but still intrigued. And I've been needing something in Love Live to actually intrigue me again. I feel like Love Live is incredibly bad at actually committing to anything. Story in these shows is always second to advertising. But with a drama, inherently, you need to put more focus on the story since, the stories and character arcs are the whole point. So I'm curious to see the results of Love Live chasing the trend of more dramatic band and idol anime we've been seeing recently. And whether they'll actually let it take the risks it needs to succeed. I've posted about this a few times in various places, but I'd actually been working on a video, which has since been retooled into this very video, about the fact I've been feeling burnt out on Love Live. As Superstar Season 3 was airing, I kept hoping something would draw me in and make me feel like catching up, but then nothing did. Nothing sounded bad, but nothing was really captivating enough for me to feel like spending time watching either. And I still haven't watched it. The idea of Kanan and her split-off group competing against the other girls actually did catch my interest. But then, especially remembering the ending of Superstar Season 2, I thought they'd never commit to this. I waited a week, and guess what? They didn't. After finishing my Kanan video, I went to see the Bocchi recap movies with a friend. Neither of us had watched the show, but we both wanted to, so it was the perfect chance for both of us. And since Love Live is on my brain from working on a video for a week straight, one scene really caught my eye in comparison. At the climax of the first movie, corresponding with the end of the show and manga's first arc, the group is finally getting their big first concert together, performing a song we had just seen them do to pass the audition. Which makes it really obvious when they're not playing well. They're messing up, and the crowd's not liking it. Bocchi quickly realizes everyone is nervous, and in a show of her character development, both in being more in sync with the band, and managing for a moment to overcome the anxiety that usually holds her back, she breaks out into a solo, giving everyone the chance to take a breath and get themselves together. And they end up turning the show around and making it a success. It plays on the fact the viewer knows how the song is supposed to sound, because they were just shown it. So just like Bocchi, they can pick up on the fact that the performance is off. It's a well-executed moment of drama and tension that works incredibly well. But it's also the sort of thing Love Live has never been allowed to do. One of Superstar Season 2's most derided plot points was the first years apparently not being able to keep up with the second years. They tried to milk it for drama multiple times, and it always fell flat because it was a classic case of telling and not showing. Vitamin Summer from episode 6 was the first insert song with all the first years, and they were perfectly on par with the rest of the group there. I've seen a lot of people say they should have just cut this plot. It wasn't needed, it was unnecessary drama, but I disagree. I think it was actually quite interesting on paper, and a good way to use a Love Live show having new members in a second year for the first time. They easily could have sold it too. Just have the first year girls stumble a bit. Have some moments during the early full group insert songs where it's clear they're missing steps or screwing up lines, even just in a way the average viewer might miss but becomes obvious when pointed out. They could even have the characters bring it up, making it a cool, oh shit, wait, I didn't notice, that did happen. It would then make the drama in episode 9 of if the first years might hold the group's performance back more serious and, well, dramatic, because there would be an actual argument of that being the case. But again, they would never be allowed to do something like that. The anime Love Live songs need to promote the real performances and concerts. The goal is to get people to go see the real groups in concert, so the performances in the shows can never be anything less than perfect. Think about every time any of the Love Live shows have had a performance go wrong. It's always before or after the song starts, never during. Honoka faints during a performance at the end of School Idol Project episode 11, after the insert song ends. In Sunshine episode 3, everything is going wrong during Chika, Rico, and Yo's first concert, but it all happens before they get the song going. The second they actually start singing, everything is perfect. During Kanan and Kuku's first performance, the lights go out, before they actually start singing. I love all of these scenes, but the trend is obvious once you notice it. A Love Live insert song can never make the group look bad in any way. If the show performances are bad, people might not want to see the real ones. They've also never been allowed to have a main group's performance get topped, likely for this reason. Starlight Prologue ultimately gets beaten by Sunny Passion's performance at the climax of the season's story. Like hell we're ever gonna see said performance. Butterfly Wing beats whatever Liella performed in the competition. We don't see that song, just the performance where they bounce back after. Even before Superstar, Miracle Ticket doesn't get awkward through the qualifiers, but we never see anything that actually did. It's a recurring trend, and a bit of an annoying one, but again, the show has typically been able to write around it. Even in Superstar Season 1's finale, the important thing is the original Five's reaction to losing, not really what beat them. So the emotional beat does land. But it's obvious why this trend exists, and it's not an artistic decision. You can't have the group's performance being topped by a shown alternative. That could make people think bad of the actual live performances. Now, Wine Margaret's performance of Edelstein did get beat, which I liked a lot. The fact it was the first time we've seen a rival and the main group both competing in a contest, and we get to see both performances with one outright winning against the other is, like, insane it took this long, but I'm glad we did get to see it. But Wine Margaret wasn't part of Liella in real life yet, even though obviously she was always going to join the group. She hadn't yet, and wasn't being promoted outside the anime as a member yet. I feel like this may have been the reason it was allowed. Another thing they've never been allowed to do, seemingly because of marketing, is they can't write characters out. Backing out of Kana and leaving is the most egregious example, but okay, so I've talked about how I think having IMU leave was a great bit of development for her and Yu's story that could open up a lot more interesting stories. So of course the next Niji thing released was about bringing her back. Again, I've talked about this so many times now, but for marketing, every Love Live show needs to have every main character at least say a token line in every single episode after they're introduced, even if they don't serve any purpose to the story. Trend in Superstar Season 1, Episode 5 has been the only exception, and I've praised that in the past, but it's one I'm still shocked was allowed. Now, this sort of thing isn't an issue in a series like Bocchi, where there's only 4 main characters. But when there's 9 to 13, yeah, no, it's an issue. So for all these reasons, I'm kind of skeptical of how much a Love Live drama will actually be able to do. You kind of need stakes for a drama to land. Even if they obviously aren't going to have characters die and shit, they still need to sell the drama. And an issue with Love Live's drama is I've found it harder and harder to bring myself to care. We've had 10 seasons, and it feels like they never give the characters enough room to breathe so things can develop naturally. They can never explore things to their full extent, and it's always obvious where things are going to go for marketing. It leads to things feeling hollow and repetitive. It's why I found it so hard to care about Season 3 of Superstar despite the fact it's been received well. I know at the end of the day it can't fix a lot of the issues I've been having. If Bluebird is going to get an anime, which seems like the plan, it needs to change this. Especially because I've been comparing Love Live to Bocchi for this video. And I mentioned how I think it can't reach the dramatic beats in that because of the limitations of these shows being ads. Well, Bocchi has its drama. I mean, Jesus, the back of the Blu-ray box says the band anime that'll make you feel, which it does. It's still a fairly lighthearted comedy at its core. More likely than not, Bluebird isn't meant to compete with stuff like Bocchi. It's meant to compete with stuff like Mygo or Girls Band Cry. Actual dramas where the drama is the main focus. If they can't reach Bocchi's drama, I don't know if they're going to be able to reach Girls Band Cry. I feel like they need to be willing to take some risks to make this work. They need to let things develop without needing to force in 13 characters every single episode. And the status quo needs to be allowed to change. Again, using Bocchi as a bare minimum example, I love the manga and really recommend reading it to anyone who liked the anime because of how much further it goes with the story. The band gets a record deal, characters develop, they graduate, and some go to college while others don't. Things change over the arcs. Love Live's biggest status quo change before this was Sunshine having the school closed, which since they couldn't explore after the school closed, because that would require the characters leaving their set marketed ages and being outside of high school, which isn't what they're going for with marketing. The show is basically limited to going, oh no, our school is closing. Isn't that sad? For like 8 episodes, and it got really, really old. They need to let the writers break some rules, even if it breaks from the perfect ad image these shows have had. Now there's a chance Bluebird might be allowed to break some of the normal status quo it sets up. I've been watching Hazu from a distance for a while now, and one thing that's always interested me about it, real-time storytelling format, is inherently there's a time limit. In 2 years, some of the characters were going to have to graduate. Either the project ends with that, or they take the risk and let the group go on without some of its founding members still in the club, without some of those characters people grew attached to still there. And recently we found out they're actually doing it. One of the rules I thought Love Live would never break is being broken. It's a genuinely risky move by the franchise's standards that could alienate people that are just there for their specific waifu. But they're taking that risk, and I respect it. It makes me want to do the Hazu deep dive I've had the idea for even more now. It also gives me some hope Bluebird will be allowed to do something new as well. Love Live is huge with a ton of branches now, and I've always felt like that's not a bad thing. Yes, it makes it hard to keep up with everything, but ideally it can mean they can make something for everyone. The different groups can do different things. The shows can fill different niches and appeal to different crowds. It seems like they finally might be allowing them to reach that potential. I'm curious, to say the least, and at this point, I'm at least cautiously hopeful to see where this new project goes. I've needed something in Love Live to intrigue me again, and Bluebird definitely does that.